Hi, I'm Brian Perkins. I'm from Lincoln, Massachusetts, and I keep my 1967 Cessna 180H here at Crow Island Airport with the MT prop. About 14 years ago, I had a friend in Brookfield, Massachusetts who bought a hot air balloon, and I used to go out after work with him flying the hot air balloon around, and immediately got addicted to that. And I was going to buy a hot air balloon, which led me down the path to ultralight, and then that led me to sport pilot, and that led me to, why don't I just get my private pilot's license so I can go where I want to go and fly any time of year and bring passengers. So I bought the Husky from a gentleman in Georgia, and it had 850s on it and a Hartzell metal prop. It was and I'm sure still is a great flying plane. But some of the places that I go to are rough, can be rough, have some holes. So I put on 31 bush wheels, and then the next upgrade I did was the MT prop, which took 20-something, I think 26 pounds off the nose, and the performance was much better on climb and takeoff. So I decided that I was going to look into Skywagons and started looking at them, and I was pretty lucky and fortunate to find this one in Montana from an older gentleman who had it 27, 28 years. I made an arrangement with him that if he held it until I got there, I would buy a ticket that day. So I did. I met him out there, I looked it over, and I agreed to buy the plane. So when I got it home, I put quite a few hours on it, and it became evident that the prop was going to need an overhaul. It had some play in it, and at the time there weren't a lot of options for props, and I had previously used the MT on the Husky, was very happy with it, and it was approved for the 180, so that's the direction I went. So what drew me to the MT prop was, obviously, I'm always looking to shed weight on the plane, and the CG issue, the takeoff performance, the immediate response, and I had a very positive experience with the Husky. So the summer was awesome. I put up about 130 hours on the MT. I really didn't have any complaints, and then I started to hear stories about starter adapter breaks. And anybody who knows anything about big bore Continentals and Skywagons knows, well, with a little research you can find out that there is some concern about that. And I didn't want to have any part of being stranded with a broken starter adapter. So from there I started looking at what are my other options. I looked at going back to an aluminum prop, and I heard really great things about the Hartzell Voyager. Which, I didn't want to be stranded with a broken starter adapter, but yet I can't just put out $18,000 or $19,000 every time. So it was a hard decision. But in the end, I decided I'm going to try this Hartzell Voyager, and I was fortunate enough to sell my MT prop. My experience wasn't as good as the MT. I think that maybe the Voyager is an awesome prop for the 520 or the 550, but this is a 470. And I knew very quickly that the takeoff performance was not the same. I have a small hunting camp with a 800 or 900 foot strip, and it was to the point where I wasn't comfortable going in there anymore. So I knew I had to get back to where I was, however I could do that. So I started looking back into getting myself back into an MT prop. So here I am faced with this dilemma. I have this Voyager prop on. I want to get back into the MT, but the costs can be overwhelming, and I'm a blue-collar worker, so it wasn't taken lightly, the amount of effort that I would have to put into this to get back into MT prop. So I made some calls to my rep and to McFarlane and Flight Resource, and they were very interested in my story. and they wanted to help me get back into an MT prop. And in doing so, I agreed to do this interview and tell my story and tell exactly what I thought. I told them that I was going to be honest, whether it was good or bad for them. But we did some flight testing, and they stood behind their word, and here I am. We got an MT prop back on here. So let's talk about the testing. I'm not a commercial pilot. I'm not a test pilot. But what we did was we did time to climb. We did speed. We did noise, and we did takeoff roll. The time to climb, we climbed to 3,500 feet because it was overcast that day. And the difference between the two props was 4 to 5 seconds. It was insignificant. The speed is where the Voyager shined. We were at 2,500 feet, 25 squared. The Voyager showed 162 indicated, and the MT was 151 indicated. But that isn't the most important thing to me. More important to me is takeoff performance, which I'll talk about. The noise was basically a wash because the engine's only spinning up 2,600 RPM. But the takeoff roll, the way we did the takeoff roll was we set the trim for takeoff, full power with the brakes on, and let it fly itself off. So there was minimal input from me. The Voyager was 495 feet till it left the ground, and the MT was 380 feet. So pretty significant difference. And the vibration, both props were balanced, dynamically balanced, and without a doubt the MT is smoother. It's definitely smoother. But for me, the testing showed me that the difference between the takeoff roll, roughly 500 feet versus 400 feet, and the 31 pounds of weight off the nose made me feel like I made the right decision. I do feel like Hartzell's a great prop. I think MT's a great prop. But for me and my mission, this is the right choice. It's important, if you're listening to what I'm saying, to listen to the context, which is I own a stock 0470 that redlines at 2,600. Some of the Skywagons with the IO 520 have 300 horsepower, redline at 2,850. I can't speak to them. All I can say is for my plane, the MT was a better performer. So why am I back after I was so worried about starter adapter breakage? So there are some things that I have learned. One is make sure that your magnetos are serviced. 2, make sure your timing is spot on. 3, I put in an Energizer heavy duty starter that spins faster. And 4, McFarlane has recommended a electronic ignition like a Shorefly, which retards the ignition at startup. And in light of all of this and weighing out that versus the performance gain, this was the right prop for me. As soon as I started it and taxied, I knew. The response was immediate. And I was so happy about it, and being back behind that, things felt normal again, and actually called my friend as soon as I was done with the flight and said, I have my plane back.